The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple, casting its glow on the tall glass windows of the Grand Park Corp building. Inside, the atmosphere was a mix of excitement and uncertainty. News of the merger between Korea's two biggest advertising companies, Park Edge Creative and Jeon Vision Media Group, had spread like wildfire, signaling a massive wave of change. Park Yin, a senior brand strategist at Park Edge Creative, sipped her coffee while rereading an internal memorandum on the organizational restructuring post-merger. Her grandfather, Park Bong-ho, founder and CEO of Park Edge Creative, would serve as interim CEO of the newly formed company, Jeon and Park Advertising, while Jeon Jungkook, the young CEO of Jeon Vision Media Group, was appointed as Chief Marketing Officer (CMO) and groomed to take over the CEO seat within the next 2 years. The name Jeon Jungkook made Yin's heart race. He had been her senior in university, 3 years above her, brilliant, charismatic, and somehow always able to command attention, especially hers. Back then, Yin never had the courage to get close to Jungkook, who always seemed emotionally distant. She simply admired him from afar. And now, they were about to work under the same roof. Across from her, Hani, a senior creative planner, fellow alum from the same university, and Yin's cousin, seemed just as focused, but Yin could feel the familiar spark of competitiveness radiating from her. Yin knew Hani had also once admired Jungkook, though she had been more vocal about it back in college. Now, with Jungkook holding a high position in the same company, that old rivalry felt like it was about to reignite. A few days later, the official announcement was made. A major meeting was held for all senior employees, led by the CEO, Park Bong-ho, a 63-year-old man with sharp yet warm eyes. He introduced the new organizational structure. Beside him stood Jungkook, the chief marketing officer, looking calm and confident in his dark suit. A strong aura of leadership radiated from him. In the center of the room, executives from both Park Edge Creative and Jeon Vision Media Group sat side by side, attending the first major meeting since the official merger announcement. On the large LED screen at the front, the logo of the renowned automotive company, Hyundai Motors, was displayed, a South Korean automotive brand known globally for its innovation and bold approach in developing eco-friendly technology. This time, Hyundai was preparing to launch its latest flagship product, the Hyundai Lumina EV, a futuristic electric vehicle claimed to be the most efficient and intelligent urban car in its class. Designed for the younger generation who are environmentally conscious and value comfort, this car is not only energy efficient but also integrated with advanced AI technology and cutting-edge smart driving features. Hyundai is currently seeking an agency capable of developing a revolutionary marketing campaign for the launch of the Lumina EV across Asia, with South Korea as the primary market. "This isn't just any project," said one of the board directors from Park Edge's strategy division. "This tender will determine who becomes Hyundai's official partner for the next 5 years, across all their campaign lines, including future expansions into electric motorcycles and commercial vehicles." After the presentation ended, the atmosphere in the room shifted as Jeon Jungkook, chief marketing officer of the newly merged Jeon and Park Advertising, stood up and began to speak. Previously, the position of marketing director was held by 2 different individuals at each company. But now, following our restructuring, it will be held by only one person, Jungkook said, his voice calm yet authoritative. And that position will be determined based on performance during the preparation phase for this project. The person selected will become the marketing director, responsible for overseeing all major marketing projects moving forward. A few people stiffened in their seats. They were beginning to realize that this tender would not only shape the company's future, but also determine who earned the next big promotion. The marketing director will be a cross-functional leader coordinating the entire team, from brand strategy, creative division, media planning, digital execution, to market research. This position will serve as the spearhead, working directly with me to develop and execute strategic decisions. Jungkook scanned the room, then continued in a more challenging tone. "Since that position is currently vacant, we want to appoint the most deserving person. So I've decided, whoever delivers the most outstanding performance during the preparation phase for the Hyundai campaign tender will be promoted as the marketing director." Now the room was filled with palpable tension. Several people lowered their heads, especially Yin, as senior brand strategist, and Hani, as senior creative planner. Many other senior employees were also eyeing the position. Senior marketing analysts, senior media planners, senior communication specialists, and others, many of them reported directly below the marketing director. Some employees exchanged glances, but 2 of them, Park Yin and Hani, quietly understood that this moment could be the turning point in their careers. After all, both women had been the most visible and active contributors so far, and everyone knew they were the cherished granddaughters of Park Bong-ho. For Yin, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Becoming the marketing director would place her at the heart of marketing strategy, and more importantly, it meant she'd frequently be working directly with Jungkook. Across the room, Hani glanced at her cousin with a slight, knowing smile. She knew Yin would be a strong competitor, but she also knew she wasn't someone to be underestimated. With her solid creative background and boldness since college, she believed she was just as qualified. For both of them, this was a rare opportunity. The marketing director position wasn't just one level below the chief marketing officer. It was a critical role, essentially becoming Jungkook's right hand in making major decisions. And that also meant more private discussions, brainstorming sessions, and evaluations with the man they both once admired from afar in university. "The meeting is adjourned," said Park Bong-ho at last, giving a slow nod. "The preparation team will be formed tomorrow morning. I want to see your best ideas." Yin exhaled deeply, her fingers gripping the now cold coffee cup on the table. She stared at her laptop screen. Inside her, one thought had become crystal clear: she has to win. After the meeting ended, Yin and Hani crossed paths in the office pantry, their eyes filled with unspoken meaning. "Marketing director, huh?" Hani said with a faint smile. "Interesting position." Yin nodded, trying to sound casual. "Definitely. It's a great career step. The bonus? Whoever wins will have direct access to Jungkook." Hani let out a small laugh, a little too sweet. "Oh, of course. It always starts with work talk, and ends with something more personal, right?" she said, winking. "It is," Yin replied, feeling the pulse of competition hanging in the air. "May the best idea win." "Of course," Hani said, her smile widening slightly. "Good luck, Yin." The following weeks passed in a flurry of tender preparations. The marketing team was divided into several working groups, and Yin and Hani were placed in different teams, yet they shared the same goal: to craft the best proposal for the Hyenex tender, which was set to take place in about 2 months. The competition between them could be felt in every corner of the office. They weren't openly hostile, but every conversation, every glance, seemed to carry the weight of a high-stakes game, not just for the promotion, but for the chance to catch Jungkook's attention. Jungkook himself remained highly professional. He held several brainstorming sessions with the teams, listening to ideas, giving direction, but always maintaining a proper distance. Both Yin and Hani worked hard to stand out in these sessions, asking sharp questions, offering relevant insights, and subtly trying to earn just a bit more of his attention. At last, the long-awaited day arrived. The main conference room on the 15th floor was filled with top executives. Park Bong-ho, Jeon Jungkook, and several senior executives from the strategy, creative, and digital marketing departments sat in the front row, ready to listen to the presentations from the candidates for marketing director. The project to be presented was a major tender from Hyenex Motors for the launch campaign of Lumina EV, a cutting-edge electric vehicle claimed to be the most efficient and intelligent urban car of its generation. The official tender was scheduled in 2 months, and today was the moment for each candidate to prove who was most worthy of leading the campaign team. Hani was the first to take the floor. Dressed in an ivory white blazer and with her hair neatly styled, she entered the room like someone who came prepared to win. She glanced at the large presentation screen behind her and spoke with confidence. "Hyenex Lumina, the future delivered." Hani looked at her slide, then turned to the row of executives with a confident smile. "To connect Lumina with the tech-savvy and progressive urban generation, I propose 3 key approaches for this campaign," she said, clicking the remote in her hand. The first slide appeared. First, the AR test drive experience. We'll leverage augmented reality technology, allowing potential customers to experience driving the Lumina right from their smartphones. They'll be able to explore the car's interior, smart driving features, and even hear the near-silent engine without ever stepping into a showroom. Several heads began to nod in interest. Hani continued. Second, the Eco-Influencer Challenge. We'll collaborate with influencers known for their environmental values. They'll take on daily driving challenges using Lumina and share their experiences on social media. This isn't just a campaign, it's a call to adopt a sustainable lifestyle. Then, Hani moved to the third slide, a visual of the Lumina showcased amid a modern art installation. And finally, the Lumina City Art Tour. We'll take Lumina to major cities as part of an open-air art gallery experience. The car will become a piece of interactive art in collaboration with local artists, conveying the message that green technology is a beautiful part of the future, accessible to everyone. She closed with a firm tone, "With these 3 approaches, we're not just introducing a car, we're introducing a new perspective. Lumina is not just a vehicle. Lumina is an experience." The room fell silent for a moment, followed by hushed whispers among the panelists. Hani offered a subtle smile. She knew she had captured their attention. Outside the room, Yin listened through a small speaker installed in the waiting area. Every word Hani said pierced her ears, not out of envy, but because too much of it sounded familiar. Her heart pounded. The art tour concept, the AR experience, phrases nearly identical to her own ideas she hadn't even presented yet, ideas she had developed with her team, many of which were still kept privately in her draft. No way, she thought. Could it be? Hani somehow knew my presentation content? But how? She recalled moments in the pantry, at the shared work tables, even in informal discussion groups. Could someone have leaked something? Or had Hani picked up more than she let on? But she had no proof. And without proof, it would sound like a baseless accusation. When the door opened and her name was called, Yin took a deep breath. She stood up, trying to appear composed, though her mind was swarming with anxiety. She knew that if her presentation came across as dissimilar, she'd be the one accused of copying, even though, in truth, she had come up with it first. She walked into the room and stood before the screen, beginning her presentation with a calm voice, though it held a slight tremble. She had tried to revise her core concept last minute, just enough to create some distance, though deep down, she wasn't sure it would be better than the original. Honestly, she was nervous now. And then came the moment when Yin reached the heart of her creative concept. She noticed surprised looks on the executives' faces. Her grandfather, Park Bong-ho, furrowed his brows. Jungkook leaned forward, his gaze intense. Yin suddenly felt a knot in her stomach. She continued the presentation, trying to ignore their expressions, but unease started to creep in. When she finished, there was a brief silence. Park Bong-ho spoke first. "Yin, your presentation was detailed and well-structured." "Thank you, Grandpa," Yin replied, feeling a slight relief. Neither she nor Hani ever used formal titles for their grandfather in settings like this. But then Jungkook added, his voice flat and unreadable, "The core concept feels very similar to what Hani presented earlier." Yin's heart dropped. She knew. She had felt it ever since Hani's turn. But hearing Jungkook say it out loud made her feel accused. "Similar?" Yin repeated, trying to sound calm, though panic was rising within her. "To be honest, I also found it strange that our concepts turned out similar. But I developed mine independently, with my own team." "The key visuals," one of the other executives spoke up, "and the approach to the target market. There are noticeable overlaps." Yin fell silent. If she accused Hani of copying without solid proof, the executives might see it as an unfounded personal attack. "Well, we'll take everything into consideration," Bong-ho said politely, though firmly, signaling the end of her session. "Thank you, Yin." Yin left the meeting room with mixed emotions, frustration, confusion, and anger. The voices of the executives still echoed in her head, too similar, striking resemblance. Similar? It was her idea. Stolen? That possibility kept spinning in her mind. Yin knew perfectly well that the concept was born from hard work, long nights, and deep discussions with her team. She never shared anything with Hani. Not a single thing. But maybe someone from her team spoke up accidentally? Or did Hani steal it on purpose from the shadows? Her footsteps quickened, and as she turned out into the hallway leading to the elevators, her eyes immediately caught sight of Hani, standing alone while checking her phone. Without a second thought, Yin approached her. "I want to ask you something," Yin said coldly. Hani looked up, surprised for a second, before giving a slight smile. "About what?" "The Lumina City Art Tour concept, the AR test drive, the Eco-Influencer Challenge. All of that, it's way too similar to what I prepared. Don't tell me it's a coincidence." Hani sighed, still sounding relaxed. "I have a team too, Yin. Ideas can come from anywhere." "Don't pretend," Yin snapped. "You know those didn't come from your team. They're my ideas. Did someone from my team tell you? Or did you dig around on purpose?" Hani tilted her head, staring at Yin with an innocent look that only made Yin's blood boil. "I never forced anyone to leak someone else's ideas," Hani replied casually. "But if someone happened to share something interesting from your team, is it my fault if I got inspired?" Yin froze. That answer didn't confirm anything, but it didn't deny it either. And that was enough to say everything. "I can't believe you'd stoop this low," Yin said quietly, sharply. I'm just doing what I have to do to win, Hani said with a tight smile. Just like you. The argument was on the verge of turning into a shouting match, until the sound of footsteps echoed down the hall. They both turned, and there stood Jungkook, leaning casually against the wall not far from them, both hands in his pockets. He had apparently been there for some time. Yin and Hani's eyes froze. For a moment, no one spoke. How long have you been standing there? Yin finally asked, voice low. Long enough to hear everything, Jungkook replied calmly, his voice flat but deep. Hani quickly straightened up, her smile turning sweet in an instant. Jungkook, it's nothing. We were just... I only came to check on. Jungkook cut in softly, but turns out, I got more than I came for. Yin looked straight at Jungkook, no longer caring if it sounded like a complaint. I just want you to know, I didn't copy anything. I'm even sure my ideas were leaked somehow. Jungkook looked at the two of them with sharp eyes, silent for a moment before nodding slowly. I heard everything. Silence fell again. Then Jungkook continued, still with a calm yet firm tone. This afternoon, the announcement will be made about who will take the position of marketing director. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Yin and Hani frozen in place. That afternoon, exactly at 4 o'clock, the main meeting room was once again filled with senior staff. The atmosphere was different from that morning, more tense, full of expectation. Everyone knew this announcement wasn't just about who won the internal tender, but who would step into the most strategic position after the chief product officer, marketing director. Jungkook stood at the front of the room, his dark suit still neat, his expression as usual, cold and unreadable. Behind him, Park Bong-ho sat quietly, as if only present to witness. Thank you for all your hard work during the tender preparation process, Jungkook began. Your presentations showed tremendous dedication and talent. Silence. After thorough consideration, the position of marketing director will go to Miss Hani. Applause immediately filled the room. Hani smiled widely, stood up, and bowed respectfully toward the executives. Her colleagues approached her one by one to offer congratulations. In her eyes, the light of victory was clear. She even glanced at Yin briefly, her small smile carrying more than just pride. Yin said nothing. She didn't react. No smile, no anger. She only gave a small nod, trying to appear composed, though something inside her felt like it was slowly crumbling. Her eyes accidentally met Jungkook's. For a moment, Yin looked at him with a questioning gaze. Did you not hear what I told you earlier today? Was that not enough to make you think twice? But Jungkook only returned her look with a neutral expression. No explanation, no gesture, no defense. And in another corner, Hani stood just a little taller, her chin slightly raised. She knew she had won, and Jungkook was the one who chose her. As the meeting ended and everyone began to leave, Yin turned away without a word and walked toward the back corridor of the office, away from the room full of congratulations. She arrived at a small terrace tucked in the corner of the building, a place rarely passed by others. The sky had begun to turn orange. The evening breeze swept through her loose hair. There finally, Yin let her body relax. The ache in her chest was unbearable. She didn't sob, but the tears fell slowly, quietly, like a disappointment she couldn't share with anyone. I tried my best, she whispered to herself. But sometimes effort just isn't enough. And what hurt the most wasn't just losing to Hani. It was the feeling of being betrayed by the one person she thought would take her side after knowing everything, Jungkook. The small terrace remained silent when Yin heard footsteps approaching. She turned slightly and saw Jungkook standing a few meters away. His face was calm as always, but there was a serious glint in his eyes. Yin straightened up quickly, wiping her tears in haste. She knew why Jungkook had come, and she also knew exactly what she needed to say first. I can't stay quiet, Yin said, her voice trembling slightly but firm. Hani cheated. She stole my idea. I don't have proof, but I know. Those were my ideas, not hers. Jungkook looked at her in silence for a few seconds, then let out a slow breath. Yeah, I know, but we didn't judge based on ideas alone. Yin frowned. What do you mean? Ideas, in practice, will eventually become the result of collaboration across many teams, Jungkook said patiently. What we evaluated wasn't just the raw concept, but how you present it, how you sell it, how you build trust. Hani excelled in how she delivered the message, built the narrative, and convinced the potential client. Yin looked down, her jaw clenched. She knew Jungkook's words were true. Deep inside, she admitted that in terms of communication and persuasion, she was behind Hani. But still, the pain didn't fade. She looked up again, this time with a bitter tone. Of course, Hani's always been good at sucking up. That's been her specialty since college. She can say anything if it means getting ahead. Jungkook simply looked at her, then gave a faint smile. Sometimes, sucking up is necessary. That's politics. That's the art of winning a tender Yin. Yin's face turned red. She was angry and hurt. So Jungkook really was siding with Hani. So you're taking her side? No, Jungkook replied calmly. I'm being fair. Yin shook her head, unable to contain the storm inside her. She turned around, intending to leave. It was too painful to hear that from Jungkook, even after she had told him. Hani stole her ideas. But before she could take another step, Jungkook quickly grabbed her wrist, stopping her. Don't go yet, he said softly, his voice gentler now. There's something I need to explain to you. Let me go, Yin hissed, trying to pull away, but Jungkook didn't release her. His hand remained firmly holding hers. Yin, listen to me for a moment. I want to share something. It's important, Jungkook said, his tone gentle yet firm. Yin stayed silent, hesitant, but the serious look on Jungkook's face made her choose to stay. Jungkook took a deep breath, then spoke calmly. Your grandfather. He's going to retire next month. Yin's eyes widened. What? I thought he planned to keep working for at least 2 more years. He changed his mind. He wants to retire earlier, Jungkook continued. And when that happens, I'll be stepping up to replace him as CEO next month. Yin froze. All this time, she had no idea that, apparently, her grandfather had truly planned this as a surprise for them all. And that means, Jungkook said, locking eyes with her, the position of Chief Marketing Officer, my current role, will be vacant. Yin stayed quiet, waiting for what came next. Today wasn't just about appointing the new marketing director. It was also about finding out who's ready to take over as the next Chief Marketing Officer. Why are you telling me this? Yin whispered, her eyes narrowing. Because I believe you're the most suitable person for it, Jungkook answered without hesitation. I know very well those brilliant ideas didn't come from Hani. They came from you. You don't just have vision. You have sharp strategic thinking. You think 5 steps ahead. Yin held her breath. Her chest trembled, not from anger this time, but from confusion. And something else, the feeling of being seen. Hani might be great at standing in front of clients, presenting and convincing them with her words. But you, Jungkook gave a faint smile, gentler than usual. You're the mind behind every major strategy. Being Chief Marketing Officer isn't just about talking in front of clients. It's about being the highest level strategist and executor in marketing and branding, charting the direction and shaping the future of the brand. You'll be leading them, including Hani. He looked deep into Yin's eyes, then said in a lower voice, as if just for the 2 of them, Hani sells her mouth, but you sell your brain, and that's the most important difference between you. Yin was now completely silent. Her chest tightened with a whirlwind of emotions, shock, relief, and perhaps, finally, a sense of recognition. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Yin muttered, her voice barely audible. Jungkook gave a small smile. Because your grandfather still wanted to keep his retirement a secret, but I had no choice but to tell you, after seeing you like this. Silence settled between them, but this time, it wasn't heavy with anger. It was the quiet after a storm, filled with surprise, clarity, and something unexpectedly warm. Finally, a small smile began to form on Yin's lips. Since the day Hani was appointed as marketing director, the atmosphere at the office started to feel different, at least for Yin. Professionally, everything ran as it should. Hani performed her duties well, perhaps too enthusiastically. But what made it hard for Yin to stay calm was one thing. Hani constantly looked for opportunities to get closer to Jungkook. In every major meeting, Hani always sat next to Jungkook. In every small discussion, she'd sneak in personal comments that subtly hinted at their closeness. Even while presenting reports, Hani would drop lines like, as Jungkook told me last night, or, Jungkook and I both agreed that. Yin could only take a deep breath every time she heard that. She knew Jungkook was professional. She knew he wasn't the type to cross work boundaries just because someone flirted with him. But still, hearing their names mentioned together over and over in front of others tightened something in her chest. Truthfully, Yin had felt somewhat at ease after their conversation on the terrace that night. Jungkook's words gave her clarity and a sense of appreciation she had longed for. But what she saw at the office, Hani so openly trying to get close to that man, brought all her anxiety back. Even worse, Hani seemed to be well aware of Yin's reaction. From time to time, she'd glance Yin's way and give her a faint smirk whenever she mentioned Jungkook's name. It might have seemed like nothing to others, but to Yin, it was a declaration of war. And what hurt more was that Yin couldn't do anything about it. She wasn't Jungkook's girlfriend. They were just colleagues. Even in the company structure, they now stood at equal height, Hani as the marketing director, and Yin being groomed to become the next chief marketing officer once Jungkook officially steps into his new role as CEO next month. Still, titles couldn't soothe emotions. Yin knew very well she was jealous, and that feeling burned hotter each time Hani not only tried to win the professional battle, but also slowly attempted to take a more personal place beside Jungkook. And just like that, a month passed. The office atmosphere gradually shifted, more serious, more intense, and more pressured. In the 4th week of that month, the official announcement came: Park Bong-ho was retiring. A small ceremony was held to honor his long journey in the creative industry. And during that moment, Jeon Jungkook was officially announced as the new CEO, replacing Park Bong-ho's honorary position. The employees applauded, welcoming their new leader. Jungkook stood tall, delivering a brief yet strong and visionary speech. And just a few days later, another major announcement was made during the weekly company-wide meeting at Jeon and Park Advertising. The chief marketing officer position I vacated after being appointed as CEO, Jungkook said from the front of the room in a calm, steady voice, will officially be held by Park Yin. Applause immediately followed. Some people looked surprised, while others, especially from Yin's team, smiled with satisfaction. Yin herself gave a small nod, offering a modest greeting, trying to mask the storm pounding in her chest. But not everyone accepted the news with grace. Shortly after the meeting ended, Hani stormed up to the top floor, heading straight for the CEO's office. She didn't even knock before pushing open the door. "You appointed Yin as chief marketing officer?" she accused sharply. Jungkook, who had been standing near the window, only glanced over his shoulder. "Yes," he replied curtly. Hani stepped closer. "But why? I'm the one you chose as marketing director. Doesn't that mean I'm the better one?" Jungkook turned to face her, his expression calm. "I chose you as marketing director because your skills suit that position. You have strong presentation ability, persuasive communication, and good client relations. But..." Hani clenched her jaw. "But what?" "But to be chief marketing officer," Jungkook continued, his gaze sharpening, "it takes more than just talking and convincing people. It takes strategic thinking, integrity, and long-term vision. And all of that exists in Yin." Hani was silent, but before she could respond, Jungkook added, his voice steady but cutting, "And besides, I know you stole her idea during the race for the marketing director position." Hani froze. "What?" she whispered in disbelief. "You know exactly what I mean," Jungkook said, folding his arms. "You never explained where those ideas came from, but I know, they weren't from your team. They weren't originally yours. If you knew, why did you still choose me?" Hani's voice trembled, confused and angry. "Because even though the ideas weren't yours, you presented them convincingly. And that was enough for a marketing director," Jungkook said firmly, "but not for a chief marketing officer. Because a CMO needs to be the strategic brain and highest executor when it comes to the company's marketing and branding, not someone who takes others' ideas." For the first time since entering that room, Hani had no answer. She looked down, her lips pressed tight. That was when she realized Jungkook had never sided with her. Quite the opposite. He had known the truth from the beginning and still chose Yin for the much higher position. She was no longer reporting directly to Jungkook. Now, she was reporting to Park Yin. And what stung most wasn't just the shift in power. It was the realization that between the two positions, marketing director and chief marketing officer, the one Jungkook trusted to take over his own role was the very woman she had quietly looked down on all along. The woman who was now officially her new boss. The next morning, the office felt quieter than usual. Staff members began arriving, some still talking about the appointment of Yin as the new chief marketing officer. A few welcomed it with enthusiasm, while others, particularly those close to Hani, kept their opinions to themselves. Inside the chief marketing officer's office, the door was open as usual, but this time, something was different. In the main chair that had once been occupied by Jungkook, now sat Park Yin. Her expression was calm, her eyes focused on the screen for a moment before she finally looked up. Footsteps echoed from outside, and soon after, Hani walked in. Her face was stiff. The usual smile was nowhere to be found. There was pride she still couldn't set aside, but also a growing sense of self-awareness. She glanced around the room, the space she once dreamed of. Now, it wasn't Jungkook sitting there, but her own cousin, Park Yin. "Good morning," Yin greeted, her voice calm and friendly. Hani gave a small nod. Morning, she replied curtly, then sat across from Yin's desk. Yin didn't show any tension. Instead, she smiled briefly and opened the work agenda. Okay, let's get started. Next week we'll be pitching for Genora Lab's new health product campaign. It's a big project. The budget is double what we had for Lumina, and it'll be a cross-country digital campaign. Hani nodded slowly. She took out her notebook and began jotting things down, trying to channel all her bruised pride and frustration into the task at hand. We'll split the two main roles, Yin continued, her tone still professional. I'll handle the overall strategy and macro brand positioning. Hani, I want you to focus on the visual presentation and campaign storytelling. That's your strength. We'll need a strong narrative to compete in the final round. Hani slightly lifted her head, looking at Yin with an unreadable expression. She hadn't expected Yin to still trust her with a major role. Thank you, Hani said quietly, a bit stiffly. Yin gave a brief smile. We don't have time for drama. I need the team to work as efficiently as possible. What matters now is that we win. And with that, their discussion continued. Though her heart hadn't fully recovered from the sting of pride, Hani slowly began to realize Yin wasn't just better in strategy. She also knew how to lead. And for the first time since all of this began, Hani felt that maybe it was time to bow her head and accept that sometimes, the person we see as a rival is actually the one who deserves to stand in front.